Oh, okay, here we go. Chad, do you think YouTube will get fooled into it being a new day? New shirt, new hat. They'll think it's a new day, right? And be like,
wow, this guy's really pumping out the content for us.
Anyways, scene. What's up, buddies? Welcome back to what I would think is probably our final squad builder for the launch of FIFA 23. At the end of last video, we put together what I still think, and it's been a very long time since we finished that last squad builder, what I think is the most overpowered 75k-ish beast squad. Now, it just so happens to also be a La Liga squad, but I put out a challenge to my viewer base, both on Twitch and, of course, you guys in the YouTube comments. Feel free to put in the comments your FUTBIN squad that rivals this squad. But I put a challenge out to you guys that I do not think anyone will be able to build a team for 75k that gets anywhere near the beastliness of this team. If you look at this setup in a 4-2-3-1, Tchouaméni and Camavinga are gods. I think a lot of people are going to disrespect them just because they don't have enough pace for what the FIFA sweats want. I think Gaia, Pau Torres, Nacho Fernandez, and Odriozola, for how godly they look, and you know how cheap they're going to be, people aren't going to be getting the Eder Militaos and the Jules Koundés and those types of players. I mean, those guys are going to be too expensive. So for the 75k squad setup, I think these guys are going to be incredible. Beastly cheap midfield, in my opinion. People seem to think Tchouaméni is going to be expensive. I don't think he's going to be. He's going to be a god, but I don't think he's going to be expensive. And then we kind of front stack the coin cost or the purchase power of the team into the front four attackers. And I mean, Correa as a wide left attacker, Danjuma as a wide left attacker, Rafi as a wide right attacker, Correa as a central striker, and then Hazard as the creative cam in our 4-2-3-1.
I don't think you guys are going to beat it.
So we put out the challenge. We have a bunch of viewer squads ready to go in terms of what you guys think are better teams than this. I am going to let you guys be the vote. I think at the end, maybe we'll put out a vote to see if you guys think anyone has built a squad that rivals mine. But without further ado, let's have a look. Squad number 1, a shush squad, and it is a 4-3-3 starting squad. I'm not entirely sure if this is the outright setup. For a 75k builder, I kind of like the idea that's been put together here. So we've got a pretty cheap backline for Malacia, Nyakite, Ndika, Frimpong. It's a decent hybrid-ish, if you will, right? A Bundesliga Prem hybrid. But I would make an argument that, I mean, you guys kind of went in on me just for using Rafi. Saint Max, Emre Can, and probably Frimpong, and I mean, specifically Saint Max and Antony themselves are going to take the squad over 75k. So even though I don't even think this team gets anywhere near as good as my team, it's also quite a bit more expensive. Would you guys agree with that? I would say. I think our team's better. I mean, central cam-wise, Hazard's better than Wirtz. The midfield of Sao and Chan could probably rival Emre, Camavinga, and Tchouaméni. I think our backline is probably going to be maybe a little bit weaker, but once again, Frimpong is going to be so much. And then I would say our front four is way better than that front four, and ours is going to be way, way cheaper. So I would say this is a decent team, but not as good as our setup and way above 75k price point. Team number 2. I like this team. I mean, it has quite a few players that I already have in my setup. Instead of the Danjuma, he's got a João Felix, Rafa and Neres. That backline looks to be very overpowered. I would actually say, I wasn't really thinking that this team would be that good just based off of clicking on it immediately. I personally don't think this is going to be over 75k. I think Correa will probably be in the 10 to 15k range, which is what we assumed for our squad. I initially thought Correa was going to be more, but Twitch chat told me otherwise. So I think the backline's better. It's got better defending. Maybe a little bit worse pace, but overall still better, in my opinion. The wide players, I think, obviously have a bit more pace in this team, but I think mine overall are better. I think my midfield and attack are better, but I do like this team. I think it's decent. It's definitely less than 75k. I just don't think it's better than my squad. So this team, though, kind of takes a lot of elements of what I had in my team, and I would say maybe improves on it as well. So instead of Camavinga, he's got DePaul in there. I would argue that's better, and I don't think DePaul is going to be much more than Camavinga. Danjuma and João Felix, Correa and Hazard, I don't think are going to be nuts expensive. And then he went with a pretty good backline. The only thing I would say is I do believe that Jurrien Timber is going to be up there. Like, you're going to be spending, what, maybe 10, maybe 15k on a center back. Whereas I feel like you limit the spending on your backline, get good backline players, but you don't want to spend 10 or 15k on a center back when you could put that money into your attackers. So I like this team. I would say, I know it's early days, but I would say this one might compete with me I would say this team might compete with me in terms of a good setup. I kind of like the idea of having Rafi in there, though, ahead of one of those guys. That is a nice setup. Decent, decent, decent. Now, this is moving into another squad that one of you guys put together for me. This is what the team will look like in game. So very similar to my 4-2-3-1 setup. A bit more than, let's say, Nacho in my squad. But he also isn't using the Bonu, right? The 84 rated Bonu that I'm using. So he saves a bit of money, a little bit of money there with Ramiro. Not the biggest fan. We're kind of over analyzing Gomez. I'm not the biggest fan of this Gomez. I think this is a strong team too. Which one would you guys say better? This is team 1. This is team 2. When comparing against my team, I don't think Greasy or Gomez or Ferran Torres are that great. And the backline is kind of average, right? I like Rodrigo. I think Rodrigo's cool. That's an option. If Rafi is too expensive even for my team, I could put Rodrigo in where Rafi is. So that's another option. Okay, so most people are saying that this team is still the best one out of the competitive squad. So let's get rid of the other one. We'll move to another team. So, I mean, Leroy Sané is going to be expensive. He does have a 2-star weak foot, but I do think he's going to be expensive. Outside of that, I don't think there's going to be many players that are a lot. I don't think Aguerd is good enough. Schlotty is going to be a beast. We were looking at Vasquez. He's going to be decent. I don't think it's going to be a particularly strong midfield, but I do like it. Paqueta, I mean, 5-star, 4-star might be expensive, right? Especially, it's a cool, look, I'll say this right now. This is a cool team. It's under our 75K challenge. I don't think it's going to do better than ours. I don't think this is going to be better than ours. I really don't. First team should be disqualified for being over 75K. I don't think it's over 75. I still don't think this team is over 75K. I disagree. Anyways, we move. Now we're talking. I might argue that this team is really, really nice. But Dembele immediately makes his team way over. I think Dembele on his own will be 75K. And then you look at the Danjuma and the Correa and the Lamer and the Gvardiol and the Frimpong and the Rom and the Gulashi. Bro, this team's probably 150K minimum. Definitely overpriced. So we'll move on. Now, this looks almost identical to the team that I built. Danjuma and Rafi. I would argue this front four is weaker than mine. And the back line is almost identical to mine. Weaker left back, right? And then the center backs are similar. So I genuinely think this team is weaker. So price point wise, this is a good squad, but it just doesn't compete with what we built. Okay, so next up, competing against Nick 28T's 75K God Squad, which as a reminder is right here for you. We have a squad that has one player in it that is 100K. Again, very cool team. I like the fact that he tried to go with what he seems to think are going to be uber cheap, but then just slots in 100K Diaz, probably a 70K Jota. Bro, this is like a 250K team. So, nice team, but absolutely fails the challenge. Okay, boys. What do we... Dude, Tomori alone's going to be 100K. What are these squads? All right. This is a beautiful team. Rafael Leao, absolutely better than the attacker setup we have. Diaby probably challenges Rafi. You know, Timo Werner probably going to be equal to Correa. That midfield poops on my midfield. Chomeni and Camavinga would struggle against a Bellingham, Chan, and Renato Sanchez. At the same time, my squad is in and around 75K. I honestly think we would have an argument here if this was 250 or 350K. People right now are arguing if this team that I put together is 65 or 85K. This is an argument of 250 to 300K. So it's a great team, but nowhere near the price point. This is hilarious. Cool team. Little like Polish mix hybrid. I like it. But Lewandowski already ruins everything. Antony and Lacroix and Koundé and Chesney. All right, let's move on. Anyways, cool team, but nowhere near the 75K. This is an interesting one. I think this one is quite a bit over the 75K price point. Like, we're going to say right now, Chiesa is going to be crazy money. What are we saying for Chiesa alone? 30, 40K probably? 84 rated with those stats in this area for sure. So he's going to probably be 20 to 30. Dybala, even without crazy good stats, is still going to be 15 to 20. This team is probably double the price of the challenge. So not going to happen. So, I mean, I would argue that Chiesa is going to be a chunk of money. Tonali is going to be a chunk of money in Muriel. Oh my God. Oh, never mind. I didn't see Tomori. And I didn't see Cuadrado. Bro, what? If you put Bremer here, maybe, and you put one of the other Serie A right backs, this is actually a very competitive, what I would argue maybe a 75K setup. I still think this is the only competitive squad to mine, and it's like 85% of the same squad I built. It's like 85% of what I've built. Instead of Kama, it's DePaul, and then slightly different backline, which isn't really better than mine. Am I overpricing Chiesa at 35, 40K? Are there even anywhere close to players of his caliber in the Serie A outside of Rafael Leao? No, right? I mean, someone like Rafi has like 7 other players that can play his position in La Liga. Diaby's going to be expensive. I mean, at the end of the day, he's going to be probably in the 20s, right? 15 to 20. You know what? You could make an argument for this being in the 75K range. I just like the squad. I think it's original. He's not just gone for pure pace anywhere in the defense. Okay, out wide, his players are a bit quick. He kind of knows how I like to build my squad. So the wide players are decent in Rom and Di Lorenzo. I like the originality of the Zielinski, Brozo, and then Florian Wirtz midfield. I do. Don't think it's going to be better than my Tchouameni, Camavinga, Hazard midfield. Wirtz, worse than Hazard as a cam. Osimhen, the same or maybe even worse than Correa. Diaby and Chiesa, are they going to be better than Danjuma and Rafi? That's the question. I actually think this might be my biggest competitor right now. This is a cool team. I actually think this team's defense is better than mine because he spent maybe a bit more in his defense. I actually think my attack is better. I like it. This is a good team. That's a good team. GG's on this one for sure. All right, moving on. I'm going to automatically say this is well under 75K. The only player that's going to have a value of 25 to 30K is Chiesa. Everyone else is going to be cheap. McKennie will be a bit expensive, as in he won't be 1,000 coins, he'll be 5K. Muriel won't be 1,000 coins, he'll be 4 or 5 or 6K. I just don't think it competes with what we have. Nice team, for sure. Definitely under the 75K, but he could have spent more. I mean, you could have got someone better than Rafa. You could have got someone better than Di Maria. I kind of like the back line, but even then. So I like this team, but it's well under the 75K, and it's not better than my team. You know what? Initially, I wanted to say that this team would be well above 75K. I don't think so anymore. That backline isn't going to be that expensive. Martinez, because Man United fans are out of their damn mind. You can use him as a DM. You can use him as a left back. You can use him as a center back. With an engine or an anchor or a shadow, that Martinez is like an 80. This guy right here is like an 85 or 86 rated center back. So he's probably not going to be cheap. I don't think Wan-Bissaka is going to be cheap. Paquet. You know what? I don't know. Correa and Rafi aren't going to be dirt cheap, but they're in our squads. Tchouameni's not going to be dirt cheap, but he'll be cheap. Paqueta might be one of the tough ones. Once again, I think that the issue that he may have here is a lot of these guys could be one to watch. If you look at my team, Rafi, we said, is going to be maybe an issue as a one to watch. Everyone else will be fine. My wild card in the squad is Rafi. This guy's team, even though I actually kind of like this team, how many wild cards does he have? He's got Rafi. I mean, okay, maybe Tchouameni too, actually. Paqueta, Martinez, like he's got like 4 or 5 wild cards in there that could be OTWs. Yeah, Tchouameni might get an objective. Oh man, I hope Tchouameni gets an objective. Didn't Camavinga last year get an OTW objective? Anyways, I like the team. I kind of like this team. I would argue this team's midfield is better. I actually think Paqueta, Rice, and Tchouameni is a sick midfield. Better than Wirtz, Brozovic, and Zielinski. I actually think overall, this team's defense way better than this. And I would almost argue that this team's attack is better. Hilariously, when I have Rafi and Correa, I just think Cornet drops the quality down. I think even Lucas Paqueta drops the quality a little bit. I think he's more of a box-to-box mid than an attacking-minded player. I don't know. I don't think so. I think this team still is going to be the best bet. You could argue this team might be over 75K. Anyways, I still think this team is the best bet. Moving forward. What the hell is this? Do we know price points? Saint Max and Klosti and Gvardiol and Frimpong alone are 75K, bro. This is just those 2 to 4 players. Nah, this team is way too expensive. I like it. Again, it's a very cool team, but this is nowhere near 75K. Of a squad to compete with my 75K squad. A good chunk of high-rated players, but I think they're all going to be pretty low price. This team caught me off guard because it doesn't have a lot of like the names that everybody in the FIFA community uses. I mean, I would almost argue this is the polar opposite of what I have, isn't it? I go on and on and on about to you guys about using different players and don't just go with what you think's going to be the meta. And like half of my team is the meta, whereas this guy's gone with actually a different squad. Based on that, I would argue, in my FIFA 22 brain, where we haven't experienced FIFA 23 gameplay, I personally think my 75K dream team would absolutely obliterate this team. Maybe FIFA 23 rewards someone that puts together a team that does have a few higher rated guys and has guys that have maybe not the craziest pace, but really good stats in other areas. Finishing, passing, shooting. I mean, this team is a type of team that I've been begging you guys to put together for yourselves. Backline, dope. Okay, Frimpong is in there for the meta. I think the biggest issue with this team is that there isn't like a proper holding mid. If you go Canales and DePaul in the midfield, they're both high medium work rates with 68 and 75 defending. I think the biggest issue with this team is it's weak in the midfield. Mateus Cunha, Muniain, and Morales, I just think that's cool overall. That's just sick. And I like Canales and DePaul, but I would say the only thing I would do here is maybe get rid of one of Canales or DePaul for a Chameni, Lamer, someone like that really can do that defensive work, because my God, man, that team is going to be so attacking. That back four is going to be really exposed. Outside of that, I think this is an honorable mention. I really like how cool this team is for the 75K viewer squad builder dream team challenge for the start of FIFA. But like the absolute dictator that I am, this team, my team, reigns supreme as the most beastly, the coolest, the sexiest, the best playing FIFA 23 75K squad for a game that hasn't come out and we haven't played any games for, and we have no idea what the prices are or what players play well in the game. So I just contradicted myself. Catch you on the flip side. Peace!